shonga chuji anji podrana toksen sanji ganjin konyet razame shurka musme tunza ba sawe lama namla sorwa de kirbe sanje chua shigdanye nyamba druba shumla tanda sanjine manere dambe chanso zen lordo jamso shabla sorwa de lame chosame chanso toje dang shirke kuru pema shumla ji shenru tsunga gyalwe nyuku ye tanda drupa tanjine drupa ho ranjin lame drambe kajela Kosme charo shitru la tsoche Rale janna nibre tujoni Tuyo irmi jivare shinji lo. Everybody give rise to bodhicitta to benefit countless suffering sentient beings. That all beings may have happiness and all the causes of happiness. That they may be free from suffering and all the causes of suffering. That they may never be separated from the great happiness, devoid of suffering. That they may forever dwell in the great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. To sacred bodhicitta, the precious and excellent mind, where it is not, may it arise. Where it is, may it never decline, consistently growing, rising higher and higher. We carry on with these incredible teachings of Togme Zampo, the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. And last week, we said we would talk about awareness. And then suddenly, the lights went off, everything tripped. So there was a little bit that was left out. Added in now, but it is quite appropriate because this is really what today's talk is about, is impermanence. So we really, you never know what's going to happen. Anything, the unexpected can always happen. Especially if you're living in Nepal. So it's a wonderful place for practice. And with awareness, so speaking about awareness, every single one of us has awareness, okay? It is an innate quality of our mind. The important thing is to maintain this awareness. The biggest problem is what? We often forget our awareness. What is this awareness? We know when we're hot, we know when we're cold. We know when we're happy, we know when we're unhappy. We know when we're thinking, we know when we're not thinking. So this is this awareness, this mind that knows. And it's important to maintain this mind that knows. So in the beginning, it's very difficult because we're not used to it. We're used to getting involved with thoughts. And of course, we can get involved with thoughts with awareness. But then if that's the case, then what's happening is we're not transforming those thoughts or those emotions or that discriminatory thought. Or we're not able to yet. We don't have that ability. It just keeps on running, goes again and again. Or the other is that we forget. We get lost in the thought. We don't realize what we're doing. And you see it often. Sit in the train. See people walking around. Sometimes even people driving. Off they go, lost in their mind, wander off to some other planet, somewhere else. Speaking of that, sometimes also about leaving the homeland. This is also something what we spoke about last week. Last on verse 3, is that leaving the homeland doesn't mean that our body leaves the homeland, but our mind is still there, still thinking about our friends, our work, our money, all the good things that we really still want. It's important that our mind has also left the homeland. So anyway, back to the awareness. So it's very important that we maintain, practice again and again, coming back to this awareness. This awareness we have during life, in the bardos, the time of death, if you've practiced appropriately, well enough. It's always there. Now you might say, what about when we're sleeping? But in reality, that awareness is still there. If you think about it, how is it that when the alarm clock goes off, that we wake up? What wakes us up? There must be some kind of awareness. Or if we're off in dreamland and something happens, we come back to awareness. What's going on right now? And you say, but they're still sleeping. We sort of understand this, but I'm not aware when I'm sleeping. But when we're dreaming, we have awareness. And look at the great masters. They have awareness 24 hours of the day. Their body's sleeping, but their mind is still aware. Still knows what's going on. You hear stories of students. They're doing something with the master falls asleep. Maybe they're reciting something. They're reciting, they forget, and the master wakes up, tells them what the next line is, and goes back to sleep. So I think this was Mingyur Rinpoche was telling this story. So they're always in awareness, 24 hours a day. We also have this ability. The biggest problem is what? We forget. So we have the object with meditation, object meditation to bring us back. Maybe there's something in front of us. Maybe it's sound. So the other day, there were a lot of aeroplanes going past. So just stop. Sound meditation practice. Awareness. Keeping the mind on the sound. Object meditation. We can use taste. We can use feeling. We can even watch our thoughts. Observe our thoughts as the objects of our meditation. So it's very important that we return back to this awareness. Become aware of awareness. Stay in awareness. It's very, very important. With awareness, we're able to observe those arising thoughts. And because we have that awareness, we've got greater opportunity with practice to liberate those thoughts. As we said with the great teachers, in a moment, as the thought arises, that thought is already liberated. The awareness is incredible. And what we didn't finish last week with the blackout is that I was just talking about people going on retreat and they come back. And as Rinpoche was saying, he had the story of a monk that came back had been in retreat for a long time, and he was so quiet, he looked so humble, he looked like such a great practitioner sitting in his house, in his little wooden hut, always just sitting there. I was thinking, wow, this guy must be really a great practitioner. But then one day something happened, and those emotions just exploded. He didn't have the pith instructions when he went, and he got angry, he got mad, but not ordinary, really uncontrollably mad. And this is because not practicing, went on a long retreat, but not practicing the pith instructions. Or didn't have pith instructions. Was trying to push down these emotions instead of transforming them as they arise. So this can happen. So if you're going solitude, make sure that first you have the right practices. And it's always good to ask your teacher. Say, I want to go for a long retreat. Is it appropriate? And he'll recommend and say yes or no. This is the best approach. So we carry on now with verse 4. The practice of all bodhisattvas is to renounce this life's concerns. For friends and relatives, long acquainted, must all go their separate ways. Wealth and prized possessions, painstakingly acquired, must all be left behind. And consciousness, the guest who lodges in the body, must in time depart. So it's very important to remember, why are we practicing? We want to transform ourselves of our negative emotions, transform ourselves and benefit others, help others to be free of their suffering as well. So it's important to know the important things. What are the important points of the teachings? How to benefit, what to adopt, what to reject, what to transform, what is harmful. And from this sort of value system starts to grow. This habit starts to manifest. We start to change ourselves. But we don't use force. We gradually change using meditation. It's not something that can be forced. And it's also something that we change ourselves. We don't force other people to change. Okay? We always like when we started, we want everybody must do the same. They must change. It's about changing ourselves. Maybe then we become a good example. People really see we change. They're interested. And then they want to practice themselves. But this doesn't happen through force. If you force people to practice, it often brings about resentment, or they give up halfway, and then they have absolutely no interest afterwards sometimes. So also remember, we're interdependent. Wherever we get food from, we're interdependent. We're interdependent on this, to this world. We don't live on ourselves. The clothes that I'm wearing today, this depends on other people. Other people have worked hard. They worked so that I could have these clothes. What was grown? How did the materials come about? Who did the labor? When we eat food, we so often, it's important to have gratitude. We just think, I paid the money, I eat the food. But in reality, there's much more than that. Without the oxygen, we wouldn't have the food. Without the earth, we wouldn't have the food. Without the insects, the bees, the worms in the soil. Without the farmer. Remember why they're working so hard. What are they doing? They want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. Then this farmer, then the transport on the roads, the shopkeepers, the telephone companies. How many people are involved just to get the food to the shop that you can buy it so that you can cook it? How many people are involved in making the materials available? The gas, the pots, all of them. Why are they doing this? They're working. They want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. They want their friends, their families to be happy. They don't want to suffer. So don't just think, oh, I've just paid the money. Actually, there's so much more involved. So really, we should be grateful to all of those people as well. Somehow they've contributed to our life. But we don't often think about this, do we? We just think, I can say what I want because I paid the money. We don't know how other people have contributed to our lives. People in the street, you never know what they might have done for you. They can anyway. Maybe the guy cleaning the street, he's working to be happy. He doesn't want to suffer. He wants, because he works, he earns money, he thinks by that he can be happy. Anybody else that could have contributed somehow. So when you meet other people, treat people with respect. You really don't know what they've done, how they've contributed in some way to your benefit. All right, so remember, we're interdependent, so have gratitude towards sentient beings. Have respect. Really important is respect. And if you're really unhappy, things are really bad, remember that you can drink some water. Gratitude. Thank you. This Mother Earth gives us water. Freely. Maybe other people privatize it and use it for their own benefit, their own profit. But in reality, Mother Earth gives it to us freely. Or just breathe. Today, I can breathe. How wonderful. How grateful should I be? Without air, without water, we wouldn't have this life. I can breathe. I have health. Even if you don't, remember, you can breathe. You can drink water. So many things to be grateful for, really. We're always looking about what we don't have, unhappy. Instead of saying, wow, what do I have? Really, we have so much. We're so fortunate. We have clothes to wear, we have food to eat, we have a place to stay. This is for most of us. Really fortunate. Why are we so unhappy about what we don't have? How many people are as fortunate as us? So when we do things, try not to have too many expectations. Expectations cause problems. Doesn't live up to our expectation, we're unhappy. We can have hopes. Hopes are fine. We hope that the lights stay on. But there's no guarantee. They might just disappear, go off. That's the end. So you can hope, but things might not work out the same way. That's okay. Have a good direction. But all sorts of things can happen in between. The lights might fail. So, and treat other people with loving kindness, unconditionally. Really do your best. So today, the first line is the practice of all Bodhisattvas is to renounce this life's concerns. Let go of all of these materialities, all of these worries. How do they benefit us? All of these attachments. Renunciation means giving up attachment. Attachment to these worldly things. Attachment to these worldly thoughts. These worldly goods, worldly ideas. Otherwise, they spoke before, I think it was in verse 2. Otherwise it creates suffering, brings about suffering. Doesn't mean we can't have. You can have. If you've got something, enjoy it, appreciate it. But if you have it, wonderful. If you don't have it, wonderful. If you have a telephone, wonderful. Use it well. But if it gets stolen or taken away, okay, it's gone. Why add suffering to suffering? It's gone. So don't be attached. This is what is important. Take away the attachment. You don't have to get rid of all the goods. It's the attachment that causes the problems. I think it was Lama Zopa Rinpoche was saying, people are saying, this monk, this Lama wants me to be unhappy. He wants me to give up everything. He said, you see, this is where people get worried. They think that to practice you have to live a very sober, very unhappy life. This is not the case. You can really be enthusiastic, have a lot of enjoyment, appreciate what you have. As we said, just give up the attachment. Give up these afflictive emotions. Give up the self-grasping. This is what is important with respect to renunciation. And then talking about the rest is about impermanence. As it recites, as we read over here, friends and relatives, long acquainted, must all go their separate ways. Wealth and prized possessions, painstakingly acquired, must all be left behind. And consciousness, the guest who lodges in the body, must in time depart. So, people are going to leave us. That's just a fact. We're having this conversation now, or this teaching. Maybe we get together via the internet, but when it's finished, we go our own way. Things come together, they part. It's happening all the time. Families come together in the evening, they go leave in the morning. We have meetings, then we leave. So what comes together will part. And also, most important, is the time of death. Okay? We're going to leave our loved ones behind. Don't have too much attachment. And when we die, we really don't know what's going to happen. If we want our loved ones around us, it might be very nice, but it could cause a lot of suffering. As we leave them, we have a lot of attachment. It causes a lot of pain. As we leave, we don't want to leave them. And just because we say goodbye doesn't mean just the attachment disappears. The emotion doesn't just disappear like that. It's not that easy. We're so used to this emotion. Or at our deathbed, we might think everything's okay. But they've got some problem with somebody. So they then use that opportunity to express their unhappiness. I've seen this happen. The person is not considering the dying person's suffering as they go. They're just thinking about themselves, expressing their unhappiness that they didn't resolve before. Great suffering for the person that's going. And these material goods, what we accumulate is one day going to be spent. Everything gets older. Every moment, as soon as something is made, it's already getting older. As soon as you buy it, you open that packet, it's getting older, it's depreciating. As you earn money, it's going to spend. You're not going to be able to keep it all the time. And even if you are, until the day you die, you're going to have to let it go anyway. When we go, we can't take our wealth, our possessions with us. We can't take the car, the house, the bank account. You know, some people are terribly attached. Again, attachment. There's that story of some very, very wealthy person. And I think it was a French person. Anyway, any wealthy person, it's not important where they came from. And when he was about to go, he said to his wife and his daughter, he said, when you guys pass to the other side, I want you to bring a record of exactly how you spent this money. Still so attached to the money. Imagine the suffering. You look at some people really are so attached. Look at, what was his name? Getty. So wealthy, but such a miser. Some people really, they have so much, but they become more and more miserly, more and more attached. So difficult to let things go. They become lonelier and lonelier. They have so much, they could benefit so many people, do so many beneficial things with us. Great suffering when they leave this behind. Great suffering. When we die, we can't take it with us. Not only that, we might think we've sorted everything out. Before we're even dead, people start fighting about, this is mine, how come you get this? I don't think this is fair. They don't consider that you're going, they're creating a lot of suffering. People argue, you hear about it, fighting about the will, who deserves what. A lot of stress, unhappiness, a lot of suffering for the person dying. We're going to leave this body behind as well when we die. Can't take it with. The only thing that's going with us is our mind stream. And what's going with that mind stream? Only the positive, negative things that we did. So look at change. This is death. The other thing in life. Everything's changing. People are changing. Economies are changing. Politics is changing. Look at South Africa. Apartheid, discrimination. And then we had the most incredible Nelson Mandela, Bishop Tutu. And then what has happened? Now what's happening in South Africa? Things have changed. Really, really changed. So much hope. What's happening now? So politics changes. Look at the Syrians. They were also, a lot of people work very hard. They work towards their retirement. I think this is the most important thing. But many things happen. Politics changes. Governments change. Economics change. There's no guarantee they're going to enjoy that retirement. They might not make it to retirement age. They might not have the health to enjoy what they've got. Look at the Syrians. They were probably also looking forward to their retirement. How many of them have lost their houses, lost their incomes, lost their retirement plans? Things change. Look at the news recently as well. I think in the UK, People put their money into pension companies. The pension company's gone bankrupt. What's happened to their plans? So really, if you invest in things, know that things change. Rather invest in doing positive deeds. Do the best that you can. This will help you not only in this life, but it will help you in future lives as well. People change. Love changes. Relationships change. We meet the person, we're so smitten by them. But after a while, that person we're so smitten by, we become very frustrated with, very unhappy with. Maybe we're still smitten and full of love, but that love changes. People change, they're changing. You're also changing. You're not the same person you used to be. They're not the same person they used to be. Different environments have happened. You meet different people, different work pressures. Children may arrive. Different jobs. Move to different places. All of these things are changing, causes differences. So know, when you get involved with relationships, they change. You still have to work at the relationships, but be open to the change. People can get depressed. People can change. We always think that person is so different, they've changed. We forget we've changed. We're changing all the time. Ourselves are changing all the time. Our expressions are changing all the time. They say the cells rejuvenate over 7 or more years. So our bodies are completely new, changed, not the same. The way we think is not the same. Never mind, 4 or 5 years ago, we're not the same. Just a moment ago or a day ago, we may be thinking differently, changed our mind. Our thoughts are changing all the time. We're not even aware of it. We think we're the same. The only thing that's the same is our name. The rest is all change, it's all different. But we have this idea that I'm still permanent. I'm still the same person. Our thoughts are changing all the time. We can be happy, the next moment we're unhappy. We can be very happy, things are going well, the next minute the phone rings, we hear bad news. That happiness is gone in a moment. We can be very unhappy. And then we meet somebody we like, a friend, something happens, makes us laugh. That unhappiness disappears and we're happy again. Change really can change like this. Very important as well, we spoke about awareness. What you can really do, you don't always have to rely on the external world to transform these afflictions. As we said, we don't have to rely on other people to make us happy. If we do this, it's very, very difficult. If you put your happiness in the hands of other people. You must be responsible for your own happiness. What we can do is use our own awareness to transform those afflictive emotions, those unhappinesses. Much more effective, much more reliable, but they need practice. Your own happiness is your own responsibility. You can't always worry about your happiness depending on the mood of somebody else. If they're unhappy, you're unhappy. How does that help? It doesn't help you, it doesn't help them. But if you are responsible for your own happiness, then they can be having a hard time, but you, like the rock, you're the foundation. You're still happy. They have one less to worry about. They don't have to worry about you. And they can get a lot of support from you. Living in the eyes of other people, your happiness depending on other people, can be great suffering. It can be very, very difficult. You can't change everybody else. You can't force everybody else to be what you want. But what you can do is you can transform yourself. So there's that story of this person there with a crystal ball. This person was married, very happily married, but then his partner died away very suddenly. He was very distraught for a long time. But then, after a few years, suddenly he met somebody else. He thought he'd never love again. And he was smitten by this person. They got on so well. Things were really great. And he said, wow, this person, really, I found somebody else again. And he said, here, he's got this crystal ball, and this is my happiness. And he gave it to the person. But when the person took it, they dropped it. He said, what are you doing? You're dropping my happiness. It just exploded. And the person said, your happiness is too heavy for me to carry. Don't expect other people to carry your happiness. Carry it yourself. Make it your responsibility, your work, your endeavor. Change is happening all the time. Every moment, change is happening. Every moment is a moment of life and death. One moment that comes alive then dies. A new moment arises. So it's happening all the time. So it's better to get used to it. Get used to the fact that one day we're going to pass away. There's so many causes in life that this life can end. Many more causes than giving life. Just like wind blowing out a candle. Can be gone. You breathe out. You don't breathe in again. That's the end. You can be walking across the road. Somebody hits you with a car. You can be driving, suddenly you're in an accident, see it coming from nowhere. When the train, plane, something happens. You could eat something and have an allergic reaction. You could just be in the wrong place. You get caught up in some kind of battle. People could come and bomb your country without you doing anything. Many things cause death. So as we said, practice every moment because you don't know what's going to happen. You only have today. You don't have yesterday and you don't have tomorrow. So do whatever you can, use today well. We think things don't change. When we're younger, if you've got siblings or your best friend, we're going to be together forever. It really feels like this. If somebody comes and tells you and says, it's not the case. One day you're going to be apart. You think, crazy, what's this person talking about? They don't know what they're talking about. But later on, you see, your family's all over the place, all over the country, all over the world. You've separated, you're no longer together, friends as well. Maybe you're not friends anymore. Maybe you only get together very seldom, then you start to realize, what that person said. There's a lot of wisdom. Things change. Sometimes if only we realized this earlier, we might have done things very, very differently. Some people are going to die, but they still was talking about the attachment. Just because we let them go doesn't mean the attachment hasn't gone. There was a guy when we were in Spain, we stayed in their house. But he was so attached to this house. Every day he used to come in, greet us, very nice, but I think also he was also sort of coming in every now and then to check how's it going in the house. Are we doing anything silly? And one day the electricity tripped and something happened to his the modem, and he got most upset about it. And then we found out that he had only 4 months to live. The doctor said he had terminal cancer. But even still, although he was about to die, 4 months, still so attached to this property. What will you be like when you're going to pass away? If you know you're going to die, are you still going to be so attached to these things? What will you be doing? What will you be thinking? What do you think will be? Surely you'll be thinking, not surely. Will you be thinking, what is the most meaningful thing? What can I do the best? Every day, we're moving closer to death. Just a fact, once we're born, we're going to die. Every moment we get closer to our death. Get used to it. It's very important. Talk about it. Find out ways to face death. There's incredible ways in Tibetan Buddhism. They talk about the stages of death. Get to know them. If you're not Buddhist, Get to know in your own school of thought, your own religion, what happens. People are so scared of it because people go and they don't come back. They think this is the end. But if you really practice, you realize that this isn't the case. You don't have to fear it so much. In fact, death can be something you look forward to. There's a moment before we die, or when we die, that you really get a chance to know your true nature of mind, to realize it, and during the process of the Bodha. And also help our rebirth. So, all of these things stay. The only thing that goes is the imprints left in your own mind. What did you do positive? What did you negative? What were those motivations? That'll help us. That'll affect us in the bardos. That'll affect our next life. And the time in between dying and being reborn. That's the bardos. We see that these imprints, they are imprints. Because if somebody makes us angry, we remember. If somebody hurts us, is very kind to us, we feel warm, we're happy to see them again. Imprints are left in our mind stream. Just because when we die, it doesn't mean they just all get wiped out. And think about it as well. If you go, you're not Buddhist, but you're going to heaven, how great is heaven going to be if you have all of these negative habits when you're there? Are you going to be happy? Is it going to be so heavenly? Think about this. If you only believe in one life, don't waste this life. Really use it as best as you can. Like Sherlock Holmes, I think it was. Wherever goes somewhere, somebody goes somewhere, they leave something behind. They leave fingerprints. The same in our mind stream. Leave these prints. All of these things that we've been doing during our life. Even Mother Teresa said, what's the most important thing? Not the things that we've earned, but those motivations of positive and negative that we did. When we go, nothing is ours. We leave everything behind. Really, nothing is ours. Why are we so attached to these things? They're given to us by Mother Earth freely. But yet we create these borders, we fight over them, we protect them, create wars, destroy others, destroy the environment. Attachment, but we're going to leave it all behind anyway. So why be so attached? Why create all this negativity and this harm and suffering? Look at the birds. They just fly. I don't know if they've got some kind of border control over there. Puts out the feather. Oh, where you flying? You're crossing the line. Where's your passport? Where's your visa? Don't see this happening with the birds, but we humans, we create all these lines, all these boundaries, and with that we create all kinds of unhappiness and suffering. So is the last one as well. And also on top of that, it was given to us freely by Mother Earth, and we still don't respect it. We destroy it, we harm it for our own feeling of goodness and happiness. So we are like a guest in a hotel room. We're going to leave this hotel behind. We're going to leave this body behind. So really don't think of it. If we have a house, we worry about leaving it. Worry about going out. But if it's just a hotel room, we use it well. We appreciate it. We don't damage it. We look after it. But when we go, we go. It's okay. No problem. Forget about it. It's gone. Just treat you same. The body as well. We're just a guest. We're just a guest in this body. The mind is going to carry on. The consciousness is going to carry on, but the body's not. It's going to get old or something's going to happen to it. So we're going to leave it, just like a guest leaves a hotel room. It's going to deteriorate, just like clothes. This body's going to deteriorate. So one day we need new clothes. One day we get a new body. But what type of body are we going to get? Have we done, or have we got the right cause and conditions to get a new human life? Or what type of body we're going to get? So be very careful what seeds are you planting? Look at Rinpoche. So many followers, but he still lives in a little hut. When there's a big Dharma conference, all the other teachers come, he gives them the best. He stays in a little tent, in a tent. Where he usually stays, he let them stay. He's not attached. If we're attached, there's just suffering upon suffering. During life, at death, the habit carries on, causes suffering again. As Patrul Rinpoche says, if you've got one horse, you've got one horse of worries. If you've got one bowl, you've got one bowl of worries. Suffering, again, we see it's caused because of our own attitude, our own perception of things, not because of the things themselves. There's a story. Maybe we buy things, and we buy them for happiness, but often they cause unhappiness. There's a story of the monk that had a beautiful vase, and every day you'd look at his vase. So happy, and everybody knew he was so happy. And then one day he had to go away for a week. And when he left, somebody said, "Oh, let me clean up." What do? They're cleaning up. They bump the vase and it smashes. And then they're worried, "Oh my goodness, what have I done? I've broken this vase." This monk is going to be so unhappy. He loves it so much. Worries. The monk comes back later. He rushes out to him and says, "Oh, you're back. Have some tea. Please sit down. Have something to eat." The monk says, "He's not always so happy to see me. Wonder what's going on." The person says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Get it off their chest as quickly as possible. Your favorite vase is broken." He knows he's going to ask for it soon anyway. Have a look at it. And the monk laughs. The person's a little bit confused. He says, "You're not angry. You're not upset. You love that vase so much. And it's broken and you're still laughing." And the monk says, "Yes. I bought it for happiness." So, all these things that we get, that we buy for happiness, but we forget it. Often it becomes the source of our great suffering, our unhappiness. Remember what you're buying it for. You're buying it for happiness. What causes the unhappiness? The attachment. The monk knew things change. One day it might get broken, it might get stolen. He might leave the vase behind, or leave the vase behind. So he just appreciated when he had it, but without attachment. Didn't expect it to be there for always, forever. So it's very important to know, to realize that things change. Things are changing all the time. It's just one of the truths of this world, a natural law of this world. Because of change, many things are possible. If everything was the same, if we were unhappy, we would always be unhappy. Things change, it makes it interesting. If things were staying the same all the time, we would get bored as well. So really appreciate that things have changed. Live life meaningfully. Don't waste time. When we speak to people, see people, what do we say to them? Be very careful, because it might be the last time we talk to them. This might be the last thing that we say to them. If you said nasty things or horrible things and you don't see them again, there might be a lot of resentment, a lot of unhappiness. Really appreciate. There's another story of that as well, where there was a family and they had a wonderful son, and the village loved the son as well. And then one day the son just suddenly passed away. But after a while, the parents were still happy. The villagers were very unhappy. And afterwards they said, "This is a bit strange." They went to the people and they said, "What's wrong with you guys? We're so unhappy about the loss of your child, but you guys are still happy." They thought there was something wrong with us. And the family said, "When our son was here, we appreciated every moment that we were with him." So really, appreciate your time with people. There's incredible causes and conditions that have come together, that bring us together. Rather appreciate, rather have gratitude and respect, instead of getting all caught up in all of these afflictive emotions. We have a great propensity to joy, to have joy, to have great happiness, great love and kindness. You look, impermanence is so important. See, teachers, all of the teachers, if you ask them, teach about something, what do they say? They teach about impermanence. Such important teachings is impermanence. Best that you can, abide in Rigpa. Abide in Rigpa, and then observe all the changes going around, but without attachment, without delusion. Let's end over here for today. Let's dedicate these merits. Sunam daye tamcha tsepanye, tobnye nyepe tranang kacheja, keka nachir balam trupai, tsipu tsoli droa sho.